Today we're going to be talking, well, I should say, I'm excited because we're going to find insights of how not to make some mistakes. Very, very expensive, very costly mistakes in many different ways when it comes to divorce.
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello. This is Jennifer J. Hammond. I'm so excited. Today we're going to be talking, well, I should say, I'm excited because we're going to find insights of how not to make some mistakes. Very, very expensive, very costly mistakes in many different ways when it comes to divorce. So my guest, Donna Cates here, is our expert who's going to tell us how not to make mistakes when you're going through a divorce and as that relates to real estate, because people are very emotional, right, Donna?
Absolutely, especially when it comes to that house.
Because that's where you've made your memories and you've raised kids, and a lot of times, you may not be finished raising children and it becomes very emotional, but financially, a lot of times they have to sell the house. And so now who's staying, who's going, who's getting this amount of money, that amount of money. So let's talk about the first mistake that people make with regards to their real estate, but also when it's the divorce.
Absolutely. So I will tell you in my world, what I find is that a lot of times women, especially women with younger children, they definitely say, I want to stay in the home for all of those emotional reasons that I don't want to take the children out of their current school system. I don't want to take them out of the only home they've ever known, whatever, that emotional attachment is. But they go into the conversation about keeping the house without really understanding all of the financial pieces to that puzzle. So it's complicated because a lot of people think, well, I could probably afford that mortgage payment. But what they don't think about is whether or not they're going to be able to get that mortgage refinanced into just their name. They're also going to not think about how they're going to buy out their spouse's share of the equity in the home. And that's just the beginning. Doesn't even address the maintenance expenses with home ownership.
That's one of the biggest ones I've seen I've seen all of the above, but I've definitely seen that problem with maintenance. They all of a sudden they didn't budget for it. They were only budgeting for that one specific line item, the mortgage, which really from their viewpoint was principal and interest. They weren't budgeting for all of the other things: property taxes, maintenance, insurance. And, I go from Washington, D.C. down to Florida quite a bit. And Florida's property insurance has been a game changer on whether people can actually afford a house or not, because the hurricanes have now increased property insurance costs so substantially. And when I've talked to couples that are thinking about a divorce, it's one of those, well, I don't know. And it's the property insurance that's the gotcha that nobody really, whatever spouse, I shouldn't say nobody, but the spouse who is wanting to stay. And again, it's usually the one who wants to stay, is usually the one who hasn't been paying all the bills and doesn't realize all the different, I don't want to say nuances, but all the different aspects of what goes into paying for that home. It's not just the mortgage, right?
Absolutely. I literally had pest control gentlemen show up on my doorstep a couple of weeks ago. If you had asked me about that expense, that's not a front of mind expense. So I'm not considering that when I'm going, ooh, what's it going to cost me to maintain? And we just recently had to replace an air conditioning unit. That wasn't in our day-to-day vision of expenses. So yeah, you got to dig deep into the financial numbers to understand the true cost.
And so I'm curious on what are the other big mistakes that people make. I can tell you one of the things that I've seen is that I'm usually one of the very first phone calls. One of the two spouses calls me, and that's before they've told their family. That's before they've told their friends. It's before they really talk to anybody to ask me questions as their real estate agent. But I'm curious, what are some other big mistakes they make?
I think the one that is the most detrimental is not understanding whether or not they're going to be able to get refinanced or be able to get that mortgage. Because the thing is, especially if you have a stay-at-home mom or someone who's just not been the major breadwinner in a relationship, she is going to have to get that house refinanced into her name, and she may not even have the income to support getting approved for the mortgage. And what a lot of people don't realize is that even though that person may be getting alimony or maintenance, whatever it's called in your state, and child support, the mortgage brokers, they have to see that income hitting that bank account at least for 6 months, if not more like a year. And another thing is that it's got to be continuous income. You've got to have proof of that income for at least 3 years. So if you're getting alimony for only 24 years, they're not going to count that as income for that person that's trying to get the mortgage refinanced in their name. That's a big one right there.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit about who you are. And so you're a certified divorce financial analyst and a divorce financial mediator. And then one of the things I want to, and you're also a wealth builder. So if we talk about those three things, I want to define each one of those so that people understand the distinctions. But before we do that, let's talk about why would you get into, I can't say that everybody, like, especially when you were a little girl, you probably didn't go, hey, I'm going to get into working with people who are going through a divorce and dealing with one of the most hot topics ever, which is their money. So why did you get into this?
That's always a good question. And I will tell you that I didn't even study finance in college. So the fact that I ended up in this world is very interesting. But I fell into it by accident. And that's because somebody actually said, you're a really great relationship builder and you've got some great skill sets. I think you'd be great. And I said, okay, let's give it a try. But my passion has always been working, with women in whatever capacity that looks like. And through my work, my wealth building work, I discovered that a lot of women were getting the short end of the stick when they were going through divorce. So, and I do work with men as well, but again, my passion is in helping women make smart choices about their money. So that's kind of the focus of my marketing efforts, at least. But I think, for me, I never dreamed about working in the divorce space. It makes my head hurt. It's a sad thing. Nobody's ever happy, but I found that there was a huge need. There was an underserved market there for women to make informed decisions as they're negotiating their divorce. So that in itself spun off to me doing specific work in my two businesses.
And I think so often in life, that's a common thing, is that we make a decision thinking we understand the ramifications, the consequences, and yet we really don't. So I commend you for making the decision to go into a a field that needed you. So now let's define a couple terms. So certified divorce financial analyst, certified by whom, and what does that mean?
We're actually certified by the Institute for Divorce Financial Analysts, and it's a comprehensive training program where we as financial planners or financial advisors learn all that there is to know about divorce and all of the different state rules that apply to divorce and how that impacts money. So there is, a training program, and we have to, can stay certified. But that what I do as a certified divorce financial analyst is walk through the divorce process with the client. So I'm an extra party or a person on the divorce team. So I work with both the attorney and the client to help them understand all of the different ramifications of things that they're choosing as scenarios in their divorce settlement. So I'm looking at not just what the divorce is, what the asset division is going to look like at the end of the divorce process, but what it's going to look like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So they truly understand all of the impacts, both taxes, growth, cash flow, all of that. So the CDFA's job is to literally help people understand what the impact's going to be of those decisions before they actually sign on the dotted line.
And then we're talking about a certified divorce financial analyst. So it sounds like, and then I want to talk about divorce financial mediator. So with certified divorce financial analyst, you were talking about working with women and obviously particularly the lawyer, but that sounds like you're kind of on one side or the other. Whereas divorce financial mediator, does that mean that you are neutral, the neutral party, and that you don't take one side or the other?
That is exactly the distinction between the two. So the reality is, I'm not an attorney, but I am a financial expert. So when I do mediation, although I'm a trained mediator, I've personally chosen to only mediate the financial aspects of divorce. So if you have children that require parenting planning and all those types of things, we're going to have to hire somebody else to mediate that. But when it comes to the money stuff, basically what I'm doing is working as that third party neutral. And my job there is not to suggest to you that this would be the best outcome for you. My job is to work between both parties and help them come to a mediated agreement on what will work best for them. I'm using the same financial skill sets. I'm using that divorce financial planning tool to come to the same results, but I'm doing it in a manner where I'm not representing either party. I'm helping them work together to come up with a mutually agreeable decision.
Well, and so I'm not going through divorce myself, but I'm curious I'm like I said, I'm not going through it. So how would people locate you? Are you only in certain jurisdictions? Can you only work in a certain state, or how does that work?
I literally can work anywhere. I'm a registered investment advisor, so I'm not licensed for a specific state, and I can mediate anywhere in the US as well. I will tell you that if we have a conversation, I'm going to let you know what I know about your state laws so that you know if I'm the best fit for that. But sometimes I may not be. I'm more knowledgeable in some states just because I have more experience in those states. But I'm always going to be candid and give you an honest opinion on whether or not I think I would be the best person for you to work with.
Well, that's really good. I mean, so in my little curious nature, if someone was looking around and they wanted to interview you, what would you say are 3 questions they should be asking someone who does what you do, especially when it relates to handling the real estate aspect of it?
I think depending on whether we're looking at mediation or divorce financial planning, because I'm either going to be representing both parties and working with both, or just one or the other. So I think the best question is to ask, how much experience do you have in this realm? How many cases have you worked? What have been the results of those cases? I rarely give references because most people don't want to talk about their personal divorce experience.
Exactly.
But I do give them statistics and how satisfied people were. And again, remembering that nobody wins in divorce. So it's but yeah, so they need to definitely ask what their experience is, how many cases they work, and how successful they were in getting the best outcome for their clients.
Yeah, I think it's so important to know that sometimes winning may not feel like winning. Sometimes it is just like you said, divorce sometimes feels like, and it is like an ending. It's a transition, but it's also a new beginning, and trying to frame it from a different viewpoint often can give you the freedom to look at it in a way that can help you negotiate. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the power of doing the divorce financial analysis work, is that you get to see not just the way the assets are the day the divorce is finalized. You get to look at what that picture is going to look like a year from now, 5 years from now. So that is powerful because you may not be really satisfied with the outcome that you have today. But if we know that if you take certain steps, like you choose to give up the home, or you choose to downsize on a home, or you choose to buy your spouse out, we know what that financial implication is going to look like. So you have a lot more confidence in your decisions. And we do post-divorce financial planning so that you can get that next step. Hey, now I'm separate and it's just me. What do I need to be doing to take care of myself and my children so that I never have to worry about managing, on my own?
Well, and that's also leads me to the opposite question of, so if a couple is thinking about divorcing, they haven't taken the steps, they're just thinking about it and want to know the financial aspects of it, do you work with them then?
Absolutely. I have had many people come to me to do financial planning, and they were literally engaging in financial planning so that they could figure out if they could afford to divorce.
I know.
And it's like, but it's great because they're getting answers to questions before they take any action. And most of the time when we're in a divorce situation, especially if we're not the one that chose the divorce, we're in reactionary mode. And then we're just putting out fires and hoping for the best.
Well, and also if it's the person who didn't handle the financing and finances, like a lot of times, again, that's split between the husband and wife. And unfortunately, I say traditionally, it falls on the man. And then if it's the woman that you're representing, they may have no real reality on the ins and outs. Again, what the impact of the house is. Are they going to get to keep the house? Are they selling the house? I mean, so often I have discovered when someone comes to me and they want a divorce, they've already gone through a bit of the financial analysis and they're telling me, okay, we're going to sell the home and then we're getting two separate, or we're holding on to this one and we just need to buy one other, or like there's all sorts of variations of it, or one person's getting a condo, the other one's getting a townhouse and they're selling the big house. And it all needs to be in the same school district, or, there's all sorts of different variations of that. But often, it's a bit of talking to someone like you and then talking to someone like me to figure out, okay, what are the numbers and how can we make this work in a way that it is a win-win for everybody, especially as you've mentioned a couple times, when there are children involved and we're trying to figure out how to have the least amount of disruption between the two. And, and one spouse may travel a lot for work, but they still want the kids to be able to come over after school, but they want to be in the same thing. And there are no townhouses or condos close, and they don't want a huge house because they're not, it's different. So it's a lot of things to consider. And it's not just one person, but I'm so happy that you help people in this way because they really, really need someone who's independent and not emotionally involved, because so often a family member is the person giving the financial advice and they're not necessarily qualified, never mind they're emotionally involved. And that doesn't always result in the best, I want to say, yay, outcomes. But I know we're just about out of time. So I want to make sure that people know how to reach you, Donna. So if you'll tell anything you're willing to share, website, social media, phone number, anything.
Absolutely. So my business name is Money Matters Wealth Solutions, and you can find me at www.moneymatterswealth.com. My divorce mediation business is navigating-divorce.com. And you can find me using those same names on all the social media platforms. Let me give you my phone number. I'm actually going to have to put my glasses on because I don't dial it enough. 908-955-0077, extension 307.
Perfect.
I'm happy to talk and help however I can.
Well, and let's go ahead. And as you know, I like to end every one of my episodes with a yay. So I'm going to ask you to lift your voice and say yay with me as we go off the air. Is that okay?
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Perfect. 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much for being a guest today, Donna.